There are lots of great games coming out this September and some should keep you busy for a fair while. Trouble is, I'm never happy and I'm always on the lookout for the next game to play. What's up everybody, it's Ridehouse and today I've got a list for you. It's my top 10 upcoming games that I'm most interested in. Some of these have a set release date, most likely sometime in 2022, whilst release dates for some of the others are still to be announced. I've left out some more typical games such as Elden Ring and Elder Scrolls 6 because let's face it, everybody knows about those already. The list is in no particular order, I promise you it is completely random, so please don't get angry if your game is not at number 1. Now that that's all out of the way, let's get into it. First on the list is A Plague Tale: Requiem. Now this is a game I was a little surprised to hear about when it was announced, but it's safe to say that I'm already pretty excited. I absolutely loved the first game, A Plague Tale: Innocence, and highly recommend it if you haven't yet played it. Innocence was a bit of an underappreciated gem, and although it has been getting a little more love through Steam sales and other marketing, it does still seem to slip under some people's radars. Innocence was an incredibly narratively strong game with brilliant characters and some absolutely amazing voice acting. It looked pretty nice too, and it seems that A Plague Tale: Requiem will be bringing a lot of this tried and tested formula back. Big sis of the century Amicia is back and is once again doing anything it takes to keep her little brother Hugo safe and sound, despite him being the harbinger of an army of rats carrying the Black Plague. If I had to say one thing about the first game, it was that it did feel a little linear in places, despite having some nice little puzzles and combat moments, so it will be interesting to see if Requiem will do anything to build on this. A Plague Tale: Requiem will be released on PC, Xbox X, PS5 and Switch sometime in 2022. Asterigos, at least I think that's how you say it, is the newly announced action RPG hailing from Taiwanese Acme Game Studios. Asterigos follows brave Northwind Legion warrior Hilda on her quest to find her father. She enters a mythical cursed city and in no time at all is witnessing history in the making. Players must make difficult choices which will shape the entire kingdom's fate as they travel about exploring and delving into the true history that will allow Hilda to restore the city to its former glory. They say the story will be told from different perspectives and the choices you and Hilda make will determine the fate of everyone. Players will fight cursed beasts on their journey whilst armed with the power of the gods. The game's website gives some insight to the combat with a number of weapons listed. They are the agile and flexible daggers that have fast-paced attacks and can backstep on enemies, allowing you to enter and leave the fray quickly. The sword and shield, which is apparently balanced in both attack and defense and can block most attacks from the front. The spear that requires fast reflexes to control and parry the enemy and has strong counterattacks. The heavy and mighty hammer, which can easily break the balance of the enemy. The staff that allows long-ranged attacks and can take down the enemy before it even reaches you. And the bracelets that let you fight up close with a myriad of magical attacks, which actually looks pretty fun. The art style looks pretty nice and I'm sure it won't be long before everyone is comparing it to Breath of the Wild, because that's apparently what people do now. Overall it seems as though it could be a fun little adventure. I will wait for more information before I get too excited, but Asterigos has certainly caught my attention. The game will launch for PlayStation 4 and PC by late spring 2022, followed by PlayStation 5 in late fall 2022. No word yet on an Xbox release. Luminous Productions' upcoming action RPG, Project Athea, has had a new gameplay trailer released since the last time I covered it, and along with it, a new name. The game is now called Forspoken, and we know a lot more about it. The one question on everyone's minds, however, is what happened to Frey's cat? Is it starving alone in her New York City apartment? I guess we'll have to wait to play to find out. Frey Holland is yanked from her home and thrown into the beautiful yet cruel and deadly world of Athea. She has her own personal snarky Jarvis bracelet called Cuff, which she can use to cast magic with some of the best spell effects I've seen. The most catching thing whenever I see gameplay of Forspoken, however, is just how crazy the movement seems to be. In every video, Frey is just zipping through the sky and covering great distances really quickly, and it makes me wonder just how big the world of Athea will have to be to make sure players don't cross the whole thing too quickly. This also makes me wonder that if they make it really big, will they also make it kind of empty? Because they just expect players to zip right past without really paying too much attention. Hopefully soon we can find out some more about the world, and it might just help alleviate some of these fears for me. There seems to be a ton of Final Fantasy inspired creatures to battle along your way to defeating the big bad dictator, Tantasila, including enormous fire-breathing dragons, giant bird monsters, soldiers, zombie type things, and many more. The game seems like it's going to be a lot of fun, especially with this crazy new movement and the awesome spell effects. Forspoken is scheduled to be released on PS5 and PC sometime in 2022. Project Eve is another game I have covered before, and just like Forspoken, there has recently been new info released, along with a look at a lot more gameplay. In the not too distant future, mankind flees from Earth after losing the battle against invaders ironically called the Natives. To win back their home planet, players become Eve, a survivor of a paratrooper squad that was sent from the human colony. The developer Shift Up claims that Eve's post-apocalyptic world will stand out amongst other such titles, and from the look of the footage so far, it's safe to say that they have a pretty interesting and fairly unique style. Combat in Eve is action-based, fast-paced and deliberate. You'll be able to attack, defend and invade in fluid and exciting ways, and the enemies will not be easy fare either. The only way to survive will be to grasp the attack patterns of the enemies you encounter and counter with precise timing. Your counterattacks will come in a variety of combo skills, which ultimately culminate in awesome looking finishing moves. You'll do more than fight on your adventure of course, with platforming puzzles that let you scale walls, slide tactically, whatever that means, swing on ropes and more. There will also be hidden treasures and other secrets to hunt down as you explore. The game will use a battle gorge which will be filled by parrying and countering in combat, and you can then use the battle gorge to gain skills like piercing super armor, execute sweeping attacks, interrupt enemy combos and more. Eve also has a burst gorge which accumulates with successive parries and combos, which can be used to activate buffs and powerful attacks. Players will be able to acquire different skills, items and weapons as they grow. There will also be stylish costumes found throughout the game to change Eve's look. Project Eve's looking like a lot of fun to me, and I really enjoy the combat. It seems like it's going to be a very fun world to explore, and hopefully the story won't be too cheesy. A PC release was mentioned back in 2019 and is presumably still on the cards. There is no set release date yet for PlayStation 5, but they hope to reveal more soon. Starfield is the upcoming next-gen RPG from Bethesda. At least that's what they call it. I'd actually completely forgotten about this game since the announcement back in 2018, and since then there's hardly been any real updates about it, besides a few concept art videos detailing some of the in-world locations and a behind-the-scenes production video released about 3 months ago. Bethesda claims players will be able to play their stories as well as create their own, by doing whatever and going wherever they wish. This is something claimed by many games, so I'll hold out before I let myself get my hopes up. Starfield is Bethesda's first new IP in 25 years, and with the amount of lore and storytelling they usually pack into their games, it is no wonder it's taken a while, especially when the world is as endless as space. I'm a sucker for space games, so the potential for this game in my eyes is huge. I'm hoping that the freedom they'll have outside of the Elder Scrolls and Fallout IPs will make way for some exciting and innovative ideas. Todd Howard has described Starfield as being like Skyrim in space, with the caveat that technological advancements since Skyrim's release will allow Starfield to be a much more robust experience. Bethesda managing director Ashley Cheng, on the other hand, described the game as the Han Solo simulator. You get in a ship, explore the galaxy, do fun stuff. From what has been shown so far, the game is looking pretty nice, and I'm hoping that sometime soon we will be getting some more in-depth information. The one piece of solid information we do have to hang on to, however, is the release date. The game is currently scheduled for release November 11th, 2022, so we hope there'll be no changes there. It's currently set for a release as an Xbox and PC exclusive. The Callisto Protocol is an upcoming third-person, single-player survival horror game developed by Striking Distance Studios, and although it is supposedly set in the PUBG universe, is essentially the spiritual successor to Dead Space. Apparently, the seemingly strange pairing came about as PUBG were looking to create a narrative-based game, and Glenn Schofield, one of the creators of Dead Space, wanted to make one of the most terrifying horror games for next-gen consoles, and already had an idea. Apparently, they thought the idea was a good one, and so the Callisto Protocol was born. Not a lot of new information has been released since announcement at the 2020 Game Awards, but nevertheless it is a game I'm keeping my ear very close to the ground for. Supposedly the game will challenge players to escape the maximum security Black Iron prison and uncover its terrifying secrets. The game will feature a blend of horror, action and immersive storytelling. The Callisto Protocol hopes to set a new bar for horror in interactive entertainment. The game is scheduled for release sometime in 2022 on PC and consoles, so we should be due for some more updates very soon. Evil West is yet another game that has been a little quiet recently. Whilst the game is still apparently being released in 2021, I can't seem to find much new information on it. The trailer from the Game Awards in 2020 promises Van Helsing meets Wild West, and I am all kinds of ready for it. Sometimes there is nothing better than just mercilessly blasting some vampires, and apparently in Evil West you can either do this alone or with a friend, if you have some. When a dark menace consumes the American frontier, as one of the last agents in a top-secret vampire hunting institute, you are the final line between humanity and a deep-rooted terror that now emerges from the shadows. Evil West promises visceral, explosive combat with firearms, a lightning-fueled gauntlet, and other gadgets. Players must kill bloodthirsty monstrosities in style as they explore the narrative-driven campaign, or as I'm hoping, you could just run around blasting shit. You can upgrade your weapons and hunting tools and unlock new perks to evolve your monster slaying mastery. Hopefully there will be some more news on this any day now, but with only a few months left in the year, I'm fully expecting it to be moved back to sometime in 2022. Evil West is due for release on consoles and PC. Avowed is an upcoming, supposedly first-person RPG from Obsidian Entertainment, and supposedly are about as much as we have got so far, as most of the information online is based on rumour and speculation. One thing is pretty safe to assume based on the trailer's footage is that the game will be reminiscent of the Elder Scrolls. I did find a supposed leak on a forum from member Sponger, which I will link below. He posted a long list of rumoured gameplay features that Obsidian are apparently implementing in Avowed. Take all of this with a pinch of salt. The leak says Avowed will be fully open world and much larger than Skyrim, but not necessarily in total size. The world will be denser and more contrasted. The main setting will be the Living Lands, which is a northern frontier not seen directly in either Pillars of Eternity game. There will be a big focus on world reactivity, lighting and next-gen AI systems. There will be real-time weather system. Character creation is supposed to be very advanced in details. Mod support is planned. The world will have lots of factions, but they won't be similar to Skyrim's factions. We'll be able to enlist the help of companions, but it's supposedly very different to how it works in Obsidian's other recent RPG, The Outer Worlds. The game will feature boss battles that happen on a very large scale. 2 large cities are being planned with smaller settlements dotted around the map and large areas of wilderness. Creatures and wildlife will be based on Pillars of Eternity lore, but will make new additions. Dynamic presentation of dialogue, whatever that means. Obsidian wants to make it possible to kill anyone in the game, similar to Morrowind, and apparently the target release window is late 2022 or early 2023. Like I say, all of this is based on rumours, so take from that what you will. I'll keep looking for some more solid information. Steelrising is an upcoming action RPG from Spiders, the people behind Greedfall and the Technomancer. Set in the Parisian streets during an alternate take on the French Revolution, players will take on the role of Aegis, an automata built to be a dancer, but now finds herself fighting the King's evil machine army as she works her way through the streets to find her maker and put an end to the chaos-destroying Paris. Steelrising will feature fast-paced action combat and exploration through some of the most famous areas and landmarks of Paris. Aegis can climb vertically and enter secret passageways to explore new locations and find different weapons to use in her fights. As players progress through the levels, more weapons become available, each having different strengths and weaknesses that can be used in combat against enemies. Some weapons are best for close-up fights, whilst others are more beneficial for long-range attacks. Great care has been taken in recreating a time-correct version of Paris, and will give players the chance to explore monuments that no longer exist. In addition, side quests will help to bring Aegis and her world to life. The game is scheduled for release on consoles and PC in June 2022. Now last on this list I have Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic remake. This was great news when it was announced, and although I don't usually go for remakes, I may just have to play this one. Not much is known at this point except that they intend to keep the characters and story as intact as possible, whilst pushing the capabilities of today's hardware. The game will be on PS5 and PC at release, with an Xbox release later on. There is no news of a release date, but you can expect to be waiting quite a while. So there you go, that's my list of top 10 upcoming games that I'm most excited for. Some of them you may have heard of before, some of them you may have not, but either way I hope you found something interesting. Of course there are many more games that I could have added to this list, but then we would have been here all day. Let me know what you thought of these games down in the comments below, and let me know what games you're most excited for. That's all from me on this one, take care, and I'll see you in the next one.